go live. As soon as it goes live, I'll tell you. All right, you guys. Well, we're live and welcome into another Front Office Sports webinar presented by Old Hat. We got a great group of people who have put away some Reese's and some extra time here on Halloween to make a few minutes to discuss effective pricing strategies, whether it's tickets or concessions. It's going to be a really good conversation, but I want to kick it off by first allowing each of the panelists to not only tell you guys a little bit about themselves, but talk about why they're here and what this matters to them.
All right, I'll get us going. I am Leah Beasley. I am our Mississippi State's Executive Senior Associate Athletic Director, and I oversee all of our external affairs. So for Mississippi State, that includes our marketing team, so marketing and promotions and advertising, of which ticketing is a big deal. We work with our ticket office a lot on pricing strategies. And promoting all of that, as well as both of our video teams. So video production, which is more so the SEC network and TV and video boards, live production, and then also our creative video team, which is post-production, all the fun videos we put on social media and our video boards, as well as our communications department, so media relations, our SIDs, and our comm department. And then finally, our fifth pod, which is probably the most relevant to this call, is our outbound sales team, of which we just built in-house actually this summer. So it's kind of serves a dual purpose of outbound sales, but also acts as our fan experience and customer service representatives as well. So we have a team of about 5 or 6 folks there that handle calls, that handle game feedback and fan feedback, and then they use that data, they disseminate it to our different groups, and then they use it to kind of answer fans while they're also making outbound sales calls. So it's kind of a dual purpose here, how we do it at Mississippi State. So those are the areas that I oversee, and I'm also our liaison for Learfield for Bulldog Sports Properties.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Leah. Sean, yourself?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sean Sullivan, Associate Athletic Director for Marketing and Fan Engagement at Ball State University. Really glad to be on today. Similar in many cases to Leah, oversee our ticketing, our marketing, inside and outbound ticket side of things. Fan engagement, much of our community outreach, work very closely with our Learfield corporate sponsorship folks and our small but mighty ticket staff here at Ball State. In addition, oversee our track and field and cross country programs, but mostly we have the external side here for us today. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Welcome in. And Kevin over at Old Hat for you as well. Just a quick bio and introduction for yourself. All right. I think he's still having a little bit of technical difficulties. Ben, how about you? Can you hear us?
I can hear you, Adam.
Awesome. Thank you. If you could just mind giving us a quick brief overview of yourself and why this panel is something that you feel confident in talking about and why it means something to your career.
Sure. Hey, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be invited to the webinar. And I'm currently, this is my only the second week that I'm in this new job. I'm the Executive Director of Business Intelligence at the New Orleans Saints and Pelicans, and in the past I've been working in business analytics or intelligence department from Disney Sports to Columbus Crew, OKC Thunder, and in the past 3 years, Arizona Coyotes.
Love it. Thanks for joining us and giving us a professional side of the thing. Yeah, we sure can. So Leah and Sean, I know you guys touched on both of fan engagement, but would you guys mind kind of defining what does fan engagement mean for you, and what kind of metrics are you looking at when you're not only executing these pricing strategies, but also looking to build a holistic program around them?
Absolutely. I'll kick it off. One, fan experience, fan engagement. There is definitely a hot topic here in the last several years, and it's something that our crew we preach on it. Of course, ticket pricing strategies and of course revenue is all a part of our jobs, and it's ultimately we have to sustain that in order to have lasting success and keep our departments going. But from the top down, we preach fan experience and student athlete experience. If we are taking care of that home base and that foundation of success, and which is in our mission and our vision for our university and our athletic department, then it's a trickle down effect. It's a cyclical effect. Everything is a synergy. Those things work together. And so if we're taking care of every aspect of the fan experience, which is from, searching about Mississippi State athletics and tickets, having the right information out there, driving content. Content is king. So driving content, explaining to fans why and where and what, and the importance of what we do and how we are driven and passionate about serving them and serving our athletes, then the rest will follow. If we're making sure that all of those things are clicking on the same cylinder, then the money will come, the revenue will come, the ticket sales will come. If our student athletes are having a great experience, and our fans are there and our fans are engaged, and they're engaged on social, they're engaged in venue, they connect to our student athletes. If all of those things happen, then they're happy customers. Across any business, customer service is key. And if we can have repeat customers, which is the goal of any organization, then the money and the revenue will then come from that, and ticket sales will come from those in attendance, having a good time, bringing friends back, buying more merchandise, buying more tickets, all of those, buying more concessions. All of those things will then contribute to the bottom line. So it's incredibly important for all of our organizations.
Yeah, pretty good summary there, Leah. I think that what I'd add to that is is the value of that ticket and what that looks like from an engagement standpoint. I think we're very fortunate in the college space that our argument is that whatever you're paying in a ticket price is likely going back to support student athletes. And that's a better argument in some cases than maybe padding a professional ownership group in some cases. So I think we have a bit of a leverage point there. So it's trying to tell that story that whether we're variable pricing or we're going to tack on an extra $10 for homecoming because we know we're going to have a larger group there, it's all coming back to explaining the value of those tickets to better support the student athletes. And if you're doing that, then I think your better product is on the field, and all those things snowball, as Leah alluded to.
Absolutely. I think that too, part of that as well, you asked about metrics, and we've kind of touched on some of those, but feedback too. So fan feedback is incredibly important. And, that's something that we have to use to drive these decisions. And whether it's something small that can make their experience better in the venue, and then if we can answer those questions and we can let the fan know that we're listening to them. We recently formed a whole team. We call it a survey squad, and it's our family feedback group. And it's made up of parking, security, we have game ops, we have facilities, we have marketing, social media, digital. All those guys are made up in this crew. So we take the feedback, we take our survey feedback and our email feedback, and we disseminate that to make the experience even better. And then we actually customize that to our fans. If Jim Bob asks for something specific, then we might go visit his seats, and we might then, after we do that and his experience, and he's raving about his experience, then we might give it a little time, let it breathe, and then try to see if we can upsell him. And you had this ticket in the 300s. Can we get you down another level and kind of add to that? Can we get you at a season ticket? Can we get you for a mini plan? I think that's a big metric to use too, is the feedback, and let our fans know we're listening to them.
And how important is that cohesion across all the different sides of the athletic department?
It's vital. I don't think it will click on all cylinders, as we like to say, if all those folks are not on the same page, and if we're not getting the information to where it needs to go. If our fan is telling us one thing and it stays with the marketing team, and it doesn't go to parking or doesn't go to guest services, then they're not being listened to, and they don't feel valued enough to continue to put value in the ticket prices that we're asking them to purchase and to be a repeat customer for us.
Absolutely. Ben, now, is that something that you see similar at the professional level as what Leah was just describing at the collegiate level? Looks like I think Ben, we just dropped. Kevin, how about you? Is that something similar that you've seen? All right, well, looks like we're having a little trouble with both Kevin and Ben here for some reason, so we'll just move on to Sean. At a smaller university, Sean, what kind of differences and maybe even similarities do you have to something that Leah described, and where do you guys find your secret sauce being?
I think we're still trying to find it a little bit, but I like those thoughts that Leah has provided. I think anytime you can get more people in a room, but also more transparency across those channels to make sure that everybody understands that if we get a feedback mechanism through Facebook, that everybody kind of sees that, so we don't repeat the offense, if you will. We don't in our space. Our event staff, for example, doesn't report to athletics; it reports to a different department. So it's just over communicating, I think, in any way when it comes to those fan engagement experience pieces. So those folks know what our missions are, and we use a pretty simple basis, whether it's event staff notes before every game that everyone receives. We have a mantra called CARDS, where we're caring, aware, ready, diligent, serve, where those are just kind of ingrained into those individuals' minds. It's just a reinforcement of messaging, I think, to all of those stakeholders, so that end funnel is resolved correctly.
Awesome. Now, Leah, when it comes to just overall pricing strategies and potentially what it may be done with concessions and even tickets, what is your reasoning, at least behind people now slashing in different teams, both professional and collegiate, slashing concession prices? Is that something you guys have done? And if so, why have you seen it be effective, and why has it helped other areas of your bottom line?
Absolutely. I think to kind of start this answer, I think it's important to kind of look at just trends. So we kind of have in our department folks who kind of follow those trends, and the trend of attendance across collegiate sports, specifically football and basketball, it's decreasing for attendance, and therefore ticket sales are decreasing as well. So some folks have gone to the model of raising prices, but for us in our market, we have to be true to our market. We know our fan base, and we know that we don't have necessarily a lot to draw from around here. And so we knew that the fan experience piece, which we've been hitting on, is incredibly important for Mississippi State and for the market around us. So that trend of a decrease in attendance, we have to make that up somehow. An organization has to make that up somehow. So for us, we knew that concessions was something that our fans had been discussing for years, and so it's been about a year and a half process of working with our concessionaire, which is Aramark, and working with those guys to see what we can do, in order to basically make up that revenue from the lack of attendance. And honestly, it's kind of the process of having your cake and eating it too. You have to. We were ready on the front end for a front end reduction, a front end revenue reduction, and that's something that we were prepared for. Now, in our analysis, in our predictions, we did think that we would get maybe 45-50% of additional product movement to decrease that gap. We ended up being around 30, so it wasn't as high as what we thought, but we're still making up that revenue gap with the fact that we have slashed concession prices by an average of 40%. But it wasn't just, hey, here's what we want to do, Aramark. It was actually going through, looking at the models, looking at trends, looking at factors from the last 10 years, and building out models that could then make them comfortable, make us comfortable. On the athletic side, we did agree to negotiate and take less of a cut. However, it's worked out for us. We have not seen a decrease in revenue because of the fact that we're pushing 30% more product, regardless of the other factors that may be involved, and not cutting those prices by around 40%. So it's been huge for us. And honestly, sometimes you have to do things as a PR move and to satisfy the fan experience. We were using this model as a long-term sustained success versus the short term, and hopefully organizations are positioned in a way where they're able to do that. They're able to look at that long-term success rather than short-term revenue.
And how important was that partnership with Aramark to make all this happen?
It was huge too. We have partners. Everybody works with partners across the board, and we had all levels of their crew, and it was lots and lots of meetings. And our AD, it was a vision of his, and our deputy AD, our CFO, Jerry Benko, did an incredible work. Working on the monetary side of that, and the models. And I am not, so do not ever claim to be a numbers person. But I'm the more so on the fan experience side of things, knowing what we kind of have to do and kind of seeing those trends and being able to communicate what the strategy can be and that it can eventually turn into long-term success. Luckily, with our model, we did not see that short-term hit, or else we have not seen it yet. We were able to close the gap. So hopefully that's the case in other organizations.
And that's going to be the same across, I'm assuming your concessions are cut across all of your revenue generating sports?
It's actually across the board. So we have our revenue generating sports are football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball. But we have still, this has been at every single venue, every sport. So soccer, volleyball, softball, tennis, track. So all of the above have seen the slashed prices. And what's really interesting too, we talked about, we cut it 40%. We cut it by an average of 40%, the prices. So you're going from people, just screaming about a bottle of water for $4. And now we have options for $1 and $2 for a bottle of water. Hot dogs, $4. Now they're $2. So you're talking about, in some areas, 50% reduction. But in looking at that, man, we saw a huge spike. We did our data analyst, which, by the way, that's another question later, but that's a huge point of ours and huge help. But our data analyst built a chart of ticket revenue and ticket sales. We were pushing ticket sales as soon as we released our concessions prices and this initiative for fan experience and concessions, which we also had multiple card readers. We had to have more kiosks because we knew we'd push more product. We knew we'd have more fans in line. So we knew we had to be ready for that. But we did a chart and it was a huge spike in the positive for ticket sales. So as you can see, there's a direct correlation between that concessions release and ticket sales. We saw a really large spike over the next several days where we pushed a lot more season tickets because of the reduction in prices of concessions.
It's amazing what a couple bucks can do for you, right?
Exactly.
Now, Sean, is that something you guys have implemented as well with your university? And if it is, what's worked? If not, are you guys considering it?
Sure. We've not gone into the kind of those drastic measures from that standpoint. Here in East Central Indiana, our prices have been pretty low, and we have a mom and pop shop situation from a concession standpoint. We have a local restaurant owner who has the rights to our concessionaire, and that in some ways can hurt you, but it also benefits you. We're able to maybe be a little bit more flexible, be a little bit more creative. So I think our message would be from a school like ours is take advantage of opportunities where they present themselves. Recently, we worked with our corporate partner Pepsi to come up with a centennial commemorated cup, 32-ounce free refills at a discounted rate, and we're looking forward to seeing what that kind of return is. We're also trying to use those marketing dollars from a beverage sponsor like Pepsi. So we'll take some of those marketing dollars from Pepsi, insert them into the ticket piece, offer up a Pepsi plan for all. So an opportunity that a lot of folks are doing, that typical family pack, the tickets, hot dog, Pepsi drink, cinch bag, whatever it might be, chips in a package. But we're going to offset the cost of that we're making it a very valuable piece for the fan. We'll take some of the marketing dollars, offset it, so we actually add ticket revenue. So I think from us, it's just trying to be creative with what you have. And we're going to have a new concessionaire beginning in 1920, and I think that will certainly be something we investigate a little bit further.
Why the shift in concessionaire in a couple of years?
Well, basically, it's the end of a contract from the current company, and in our standpoint, we'd like to get to a more, I think, overarching professional look at it. Like I mentioned, it's a little bit mom and pop. We'd like to get to a more streamlined professional look.
And do you think that's going to benefit you guys across the board?
Yeah, I think we'll have more eyes and data on the back end to see. To Leah's point, I'm not sure we're kind of using written spreadsheets back here from a concession standpoint. We'd like to get to a point where we're knowing exactly every little piece, and hopefully maybe even tie it into a more 360-degree piece with a bookstore and our ticketing software, and if there's a way to do that, so we're really getting a full picture of who those fans are and what they're spending on while they're in our venues.
And to that
when it
point,
comes to, yeah, I was going to say, Leah, go ahead.
I was just going to say to the point that he was talking about the new concessionaire and the contract ending, and that's something honestly that that we use as leverage. Our crew was going to kind of be up in 1920 as well, and so we kind of use that as leverage for the concession deal to actually work on our end.
Now, you guys have both talked about data. I know, Sean, you mentioned spreadsheet. Leah, it sounded like you guys are a little bit more robust. What does that data process look like, and what are you kind of looking for, not only in the trends, but also in the projections? And then how are you taking that data? And for someone who may not be a numbers person like you, how are you digesting it and making sure that you're putting together effective solutions for your fans?
Absolutely. We've been fighting for a data analyst for probably 2 or 3 years, about 3 years, because he joined our team last year and has been a game changer. Definitely has paid his salary. So, that's huge. And a lot of times that's the big deal is, man, adding another person and on top of our team. And that can be tough. And a lot of the folks in the SEC already had him, and they've had him for years. And we didn't, we did not have one. So we looked at different options of what we could do. We even looked at going on campus and using some data students, some students who are in stats, and seeing if they could help us out. So I know that some universities, my previous university, we actually did that as well, and Louisiana Tech. So as we went on campus, and we kind of used it as a student project to help us with our pricing strategies and help us with our, the tie between, renewal rates, historical renewal rates, and regression models, and all the things that we may have sat through in business class, but that we don't use on a daily basis. I know I do not, but I know what I want to be seen. I know what we need. I can see that. I can see the big picture of things. But as far as putting my hands on it, I didn't have that, that experience. But our guy did, and he is incredible. And so we basically, it does help to obviously have partners like Pacquiao. That's huge. And the data that they can provide, the historical data that they can provide. We work with Kager. We work with the Craft Analytic Group. So we were their guinea pig. So it was actually very, very cost efficient for us to do that. So maybe that's an option for other universities as well. And then now we've just recently signed on with Salesforce through our relationship with Pacquiao. And so having a good CRM is critical as well. But, for our data analysts, we have weekly meetings. So we actually have 2 standing meetings. One is the family feedback meeting I was mentioning earlier, and that's all the feedback that our crew gets. And then it's disseminated, and we can tell where their sections are, so we can go and kind of make changes, and maybe upsell them later down the road if we hit the nail on the head and we make us, have a successful, feedback relationship. But on the other end, our other meeting is a ticketing meeting where his dotted line is to the business office, to donors, to development, to our ticket office, and to marketing and our executive team. So that him being able to take all the information and data inputs and then make predictions based on that is huge for us. In order to actually use that, we definitely use the multiple regression analysis, and we kind of go in and make predictions, and he tells us if where he thinks that we can go up or down, dynamic upward, dynamic downward in our pricing models, and what he thinks would be the effect on that, and if that's something that we in an executive team can bite off and be okay with, and then we move forward, and then he analyzes those results. So having a data analyst is huge for any team, but if there's something that a university can't bite off, then maybe that's something they can do, and then go on the academic side and see if they can get some students to do some sort of project for them, because it's definitely a necessity, especially now.
Yeah, no, I think a big part and a big question of that is, you said you fought for a data analyst. What was the process of that? And for people who may be looking to try and bring someone onto the team, what kind of advice can you impart to have them sell that position to whoever it may be that needs to make the decision on pulling the trigger?
Yeah, numbers. As much as I am scared of numbers, that's something that the proof is in the pudding, and you can't, I feel like I've used a lot of cliches today, but I think that's something that you can't escape from. And if you can show that, that data analyst can give you information about your demographics, give you information about your renewal rates, and show, hey guys, this team, this gentleman is at risk. That's not something that we're looking for day to day. We don't log on our computers and get a list of folks who we need to go in court and make sure that they're taken care of because they haven't renewed yet. So it's taking all that historical data, which I don't have time to sit down and do that. Sean, I don't know if you have time to sit down and do that, but it's taking all the historical data that is just sitting there and living there. We have so much data. We've done such a great job and across all universities of gathering the data. It was huge at Louisiana Tech, but we didn't use it. And so being able to show that and being able to show that if you can actually use it, then you're making smart decisions. You're making warm leads. You're not cold calling people, but you're making warm leads. You're having folks who are actually interested in your athletic department or in sports. They're not interested in Mississippi State, but they're interested in sports. And you're making a warm lead based on, so you're being efficient with your time. So if you can show those numbers of the results, I think that's huge for any athletic director or department to deputy AD, CFO to see.
Awesome. Now, Kevin, on the agency side, what have you seen?
And typically, that's the role that we're filling with a lot of our clients is somebody that has the time to look over that stuff and do the regression analysis and really look at where the data is telling you to take the tickets, where the data is telling you to take even your experience. Some of the clients we've worked with have a lot of data just on fan ingress and egress, how certain concession stands are holding up, how different areas of the stadium are actually functioning in terms of that overall value that you can add to the tickets. And that's a lot of data. You add in the stuff you get from people trafficking to your websites and not completing the ticket purchasing process, the secondary market data. There's so much there that that's usually the role that we fill. As we come in, we take all of those thousands and thousands and thousands of rows of data and turn it into something that's actually consumable, even back to our clients, just so they can go to whoever their bosses or go to their marketing team and say, hey, here's what's happening. Here's something that's some consumable information you can digest really quickly and actually make a decision on. And she's exactly, Leah's exactly right. Not every school can afford that analytics person. Not every school can afford to do that. And honestly, not every school has the resources and students to come and say, hey, here's a great, intern or GA project you've got. They need that help. They need that assistance. And if you haven't done any of the type of those models or have any kind of background in kind of crunching that data, it is very, very overwhelming to even start looking at it. So we try to take that fear out of it and try to make sure that our clients are using the data to make strategic decisions.
Now, when it comes to that data, if, say, the client doesn't have the opportunity to have either or a student or another hand who focuses mainly on it, what data points would you direct them to look for that can impact right away?
I mean, I'd say start with the secondary market if you can get that information. I mean, that's almost like a real live testing ground on how people are going to react to you changing your ticket prices or how they're going to react to different factors. Other than that, I mean, typically you've got historical data and looking over the trends. You know how well your team's done. You know how well or different stadium improvements you've done or different things you've done over the last 10 years. Well, go back and look at your revenue. Go back and look at the tickets you sold and look at the type that's changing there. And another thing we're really looking at for a lot of our clients is sometimes if you look at the demographic data and where people are coming from that are buying your tickets, you'll find a county or a city or a location that you really hadn't focused on in the past, but you can look at and say, 15% of our season ticket buyers are coming from this location. We hadn't really put that together. Let's maybe extend some campaigns to that area. Let's actually target these specific people. It could be a family-oriented town that people are coming over for the games once a week, and you didn't realize it because it doesn't look like a big town and not an area that you would have traditionally targeted.
Awesome. Now, Ben, is this something similar that you guys are seeing at the professional level?
Yeah, I can. I'm sorry I was late because of some technical issues. Yeah, I totally agree with what Kevin just mentioned. I think data is extremely important in our analysis, and we use it to solve problems, to figure out if there's any opportunities, and we use a lot of both primary and secondary market data to help us find boundaries on the lower and upper side. This is my second week in this new job, so I cannot really speak about what we do here at the Saints and Pelicans organization, but I think what I mentioned earlier and what Kevin said was really a common practice in the whole sports industry, and something that, based on my past experience, that I think helped us a lot is really use statistical analysis and statistical tools to help us understand the demand and supply, and help us understand how much of different factors would impact ticket price and demand and supply in the market, such as opponent win-loss records, weekend versus weekdays, weather, what's the seasonality or economic factor in the whole market. And at the end of the day, in my past experience with the Thunder and with the Coyotes, I learned a lot from Scott Loft and Jeff Miranda that, ticket pricing, especially on the individual game ticket pricing perspective, it's really about an art. It's more, sometimes it's like an art than it's about data and analysis or statistics, because it's, really related with your fan experience, with your brand, and with your overall, the value of your team. So I think that's some of my sense that, I want to share with this panel.
Yeah, and I'd add on to what Ben said. I mean, it's an art form because there's so little. I mean, there's aspects you can control. You can control your concessions. You can control the game day experience of people that are there and how your staff's handling them. But you never know that if your fourth week opponent is actually going to be 4-0 on that point or 0-4, or if there's a certain player on that team that's going to be a Heisman candidate or whatever it is. There's so many factors in sports that is outside of your control. That's why for us, at least, it comes back to that data, because you can control the stuff that the data points are telling you.
Ben, now you are in control and work on both the Pelicans and the Saints side, basketball, NBA, NFL. Are you guys doing similar types of analysis, or are you doing different? How do you use what you have learned with the NFL and apply it to the NBA and vice versa? I know you've only been there a couple of weeks, but in that time, is that something you've worked on?
Yeah, in my week of work here, I kind of learned a lot of that. Different leagues have very different rules in terms of how to acquire data, how to store the data and use the data, and how to process the data, and making sure that I think one thing that is very important while one team is managing different team is that sports team is that, protecting the data is very important, and making sure that you're in compliance with different legal requirement is important in terms of using the data and protecting customers' data.
Now, what are you guys doing to protect customers' data? Is there a certain software you're using? What does that process look like?
Yeah, we work closely with our league office, our legal department, and our data warehouse team. We are putting together some data protection processes and policies.
Sean, now I'm assuming that you guys are on the spreadsheet side of things. You may not have a robust data policy. Is this something that you guys have implemented as well on your side?
Yeah, we're kind of on the lower end of it from a data standpoint and robustness, but I think to some of the points that have been made, we're kind of leveraging the academic side of things and have some projects loaded into some capstone projects right now that we're looking forward to working through. And I would just say, even if you don't have the data, if you're at a school like ours where maybe that's not quite on the, right on the precipice of what you're trying to accomplish today, take some chances. I mean, we took some chances on just going to a variable price model, which again isn't all that earth shattering, but it was a very big, made a huge impact on key games. So when we took a look at what we were doing a couple of years ago, which was just looking at a base price for general admission and reserve prices. Well, we certainly knew from some data that we had, maybe we weren't diving all that deep into, but we certainly knew that family weekend and homecoming were games that were going to be larger attendance for us. So let's leverage that. Let's increase prices there. Make sure we're getting everything we can out of those two games where we know we can extract those extra dollars. And then going back to the data side and those academic pieces at Northwestern in my time there, we really took a chance to go to a very, I think, innovative Dutch auction pricing model. And, I don't know if everybody in the Power Five was willing to take that chance to really dive in. Started with spreadsheets. I mean, we did. We took a very look at 2 games on a basketball season to see how things would react in this model. We saw some movement, and that's when we went kind of full bore into it to really leverage what that demand curve would look like. And we're all scared to raise prices, I think. But if you have that data that says, no, you're good here because we have some of these numbers, the payoff can be big.
And for people who may not know, how does that, the Dutch ticketing model that you just mentioned, how does that work? And how did you guys kind of deploy that at Northwestern? And what were the success, and is something that, can be replicated?
Sure. We worked really closely with a couple of award-winning professors there at Northwestern and the Kellogg School, Jeff Ely and Sandeep Baliga. And the Dutch auction model is basically a reverse auction that we're used to. So we're starting prices high, letting them fall. And one of the things that we included in that was a refund. So not only were we creating the best price point, we were also collecting data on our consumers, so we knew exactly what they were willing to spend. And when we got to the point based on this proprietary algorithm that the professors employed, then we knew the pricing, but we also had all their data, email information, phone numbers, and what they were willing to spend. And once we got to that mark, it was well above what we were just kind of guessing at. And I think that's what we're all trying to avoid, is getting away from the guess. And if you can go to a point where you have the concrete knowledge, that's where we all want to be.
Leah, how have you guys gotten away from the guess?
Oh, it's our data analyst. Sorry, I was typing
Yeah, no, you're fine.
some questions. But it's the data side of things, and I know I mentioned the regression models that that our team uses. But it's also looking at demographics and kind of showing correlations between different buckets of fans and kind of price levels, their income levels, their feedback, and then actually using different inputs, different. I guess if price is the only thing, using price elasticity a lot is what we do. If that's the only thing that's changing, kind of what are our results, been from that. There have been some kind of trial and error. I hate to say that, we don't have a ton of resources to not be as efficient in that model. But in the early stages of things, and this is before we had our data analysts, we did have to kind of take that route. And that was kind of seeing what, how, like, using price elasticity to kind of determine if price was the only factor, being adjusted, that's what the outcome drove. Doing the campaigns, the gimmick campaigns of dollar nights, mini plans, pricing options such as variable pricing, tiered spread pricing across the spectrum, and dynamic pricing. I mean, we try a lot of that, and we tried a lot more of it too, I think, just to kind of see what would work, especially before we had our data analysts. Now it's not so much guessing because of that, that pinpointed data. I mean, we have reports each week that show that show the percentages that the money that was left on the table in the past, and the percentages of how much this year we were up at this certain point 6.6% in renewals. So is that something that we hadn't done before, but our data analysts could prove.
Awesome. Now, Ben, I know you guys are in a different situation where you're in a major city with major professional sports teams and other college teams. For you guys, what does that pricing look like in a crowded market, and how are you using both the Saints and the Pelicans to whether play off of each other or learn for what works for both sides of the franchises?
Yeah, that's a great question. I apologize that I might not be able to, and I haven't learned enough to really share information about the Saints and Pelicans and the New Orleans market. But I'm happy to share some of my experience with, Oklahoma City and Phoenix. I think if you compare these two markets, it's quite the opposite. Oklahoma City is, not a relatively, smaller city in major metro area, comparing to the large cities, but the Thunder was the only major league team over there. So the market for for the team is very thick, which means, there are a lot of people looking at our tickets. A lot of people follow the Thunder. And while Phoenix is very different, it's actually not a small city. There are, consistently 4 million people in the market, but it has a lot of competitions and replacements. You have 4 major league teams over there, and the Arizona Cardinals is right across the road. And we both located in the West Valley, which is quite far in terms of driving distance from most of our fans live, which is in the East Valley. So a lot of these situations in the whole market, in the whole competition and replacement situation, you just have to consider in your pricing, the whole overall pricing strategy, I would say. And in the past, especially in the past 5 years, one thing that we found has to go hand in hand with our dynamic pricing strategy on the single game ticket side is your web analytics capabilities. So we found that in the past many years that there are more and more fans buy single game tickets online, no matter you're a Ticketmaster platform or your other platforms. So we started tracking our web traffic on Ticketmaster and tracking the conversion rate on our games and pages. That really helped a lot, especially when you see a spike in web traffic. Your market is getting thicker. You know that there are more people looking at it, especially if it go along with a higher conversion rate. That's a big positive signal that you can raise the price. So things like that is really going along with how your market is, how your market changes, and how your web traffic changes.
And Kevin, from a consulting agency side, how are you kind of positioning and working with the clients on the pricing, the product in a crowded market, or even if it's like a college that's the only show in town, making sure that they're not undercutting themselves?
Well, I feel, typically one of the things we'll ask the clients for, and if not, we'll search it out, is competitor pricing, even if it's not the same area. Teams in your conference or teams that you're playing on a regular basis, look at what their home game pricing is. And then you can cross-reference that with the demographics of the area or the demographics of their university and come up with an idea of, okay, compared to our fans, they're at this income level and they're charging this price. It just gives you kind of a baseline. Again, I keep going back to the secondary market data, but if you combine the secondary market data with any competitors in your area and all of your competitors within your conference, it can give you a good high end or low end of where those tickets really need to fall in. A lot of the schools, unfortunately, you're right, there's another 5 or 6 schools within 50 to 60 miles of them, and they have to compete with that. Usually people kind of have their tribe they stick to, but it still gives you an idea that if the school down the road can get a family of 4 into their venue for $100 and it's going to take your fans $400, you need to know that. You need to have an idea of how they're doing it so you can make sure you're pricing your stuff competitively.
Awesome. Now, I think you just kind of segued into a great thing, but family packs, family opportunities, there's been a big shift in the way people experience sports. Many people are staying at home because they can watch with everyone on their couch for $100 a month, and they can watch every, episode, every show they want. And Leah and Sean, I think we'll start with you. How have you guys engaged families, and how have you set price points that are make it, worth it for you, but also worth it for them to try and get involved?
On our end, families are huge for us in Starkville, Mississippi, without having any sort of larger metropolitan area anywhere near within a couple hours. But so we actually do make those packs, and obviously put the name on it. But we focus a lot on families and kids. We have a free kids court that is before every basketball game, and a free kids zone before every football game. So we have to do those things. It's not just about the pricing for us, but it's what we can put in that pack. So we're reminding the fans of in this price pack, you're getting the concessions. You can feed your family of 4 or 5, because our concession prices have been cut almost in half. And with that deal, then we're also going to offer you these tickets. And with that, you can have free babysitters at our kids zone before the game even starts, so that hopefully your kids get tired, they sit in the seat, they behave, and mom and dad can actually enjoy the game. So it's not just, in our opinion, about how to price that, but it's also what else you're giving them, what other entities, whatever benefits are you giving them in addition to that pack, because they do want the experience. If they're going to come to the venue and they're going to get out of their house, dress all their kids, usually during dinner time, what else are they going to get? And that's something that is huge for us and for our area. We are in Mississippi, and we have, where there's 34% is a poverty rate. And so we know that as well. And especially and on the basketball side, we're trying to make sure that they're not only getting an affordable ticket, but also the rest of the experience that goes with it. And as you said, the trend is to stay at home. So we have to give them things that they're not going to get on their couch. Whether that be meeting the student athletes. Our student athletes stick around after every game and they meet our fans. That kind of stuff, the autograph posters, the pictures, they stay for an hour after the game. I mean, it's crazy what that does for your tickets. We have a built-in fan base. We have a brand affinity because our student athletes and our coaches, we've coached them up in order to do those things. And it makes that family pass and that family pack that much more valued for the end user.
For you guys, what's harder, getting the family to come out the first time or getting them to come back?
Oh, the first time. For sure. Our head coach for women's basketball says it, not coach of the year, national finalist, back-to-back, Final Fours, all that. But he says it. He said, if you come once, we'll hook you. And that's absolutely the case. We work very hard. Our team works very hard on the in-game experience, and it's loud. It is fun. It is senses overload, which your kids are loving. It's from our cameramen to what they're looking for, to fire and smoke and social media engagement in game and polling and Kids Zone and Maroon Memories, getting to come on the court, things that don't cost a lot, having pictures on the court, having spirit squads go visit you in your seat. If we have a fan who, upgraded a seat and they spent money on a seat upgrade, we'll go see them and we'll go talk to them and say, we hope you're enjoying your experience. We might throw a free hot dog at them and say, here's a little prize pack just for coming. So those kind of things. And then they write us back and say, thank you. And then we say, you enjoyed this seat upgrade, but we noticed you're not a season ticket holder or even a mini plan holder. So what can we then do for that fan or that family to get them to that next level?
Awesome. Now, Sean, how are you guys approaching the family pack and family packages side of things? And what have you seen effective?
Sure. I think the thing we have a kids club as well, and certainly is at the top of the list when our sellers are on the phone talking to families. What we actually went ahead and did a couple of years back was create a reading and coloring contest in local elementary schools, which has grown into about 100 schools in East Central Indiana. And that right there gives us some really warm leads on kids clubs, which has allowed us to grow the kids club there. So if there are some programming you can build around the youth market, I would recommend doing it. Again, it's a very inexpensive piece for us. It's very turnkey for teachers. We're talking about some ticket redemption that leads to data for us. So it's been a key driver in us improving our data in families.
Awesome. Now, Ben, it's probably a little bit different on the professional side. I know as someone who was born and raised in Arizona, Coyotes did a lot of things, Saturdays, Friday nights, college nights. For at least in your experience on the professional side, putting these packages together, what did you find effective, and where were the price points that were most impactful, whether it's on the student side or even on the college side?
That's a good question. I think based on my experience at the Coyotes, I feel like targeting or marketing to the families and students and younger demographic groups of fans is really more like an art. It's a lot of times it's not about how much it is, because they have very limited budget or they have their specific needs in entertainment. So it's more about like what Leah mentioned, it's a whole package of their experience. Pricing is only part of it. How do you package the whole thing based on? And for the Coyotes, one of the things that I think is a great initiative that work for us well is we have sponsor family packages that include food and beverage, which is a great deal. And we sell a lot of that and drive a lot of sponsorship value for our corporate as well. And also we have some family pack and student packages that come with deals with transportation. There are at least an hour drive from East Valley to where the Coyotes Arena is. So for a lot of families and students, it's important for them to have a good experience on the road, come to the game and back home. So that's something also packaged as an experience with a family pack we have.
Now, Kevin, how important is building those packages, and what have you guys done, or how have you helped some of the programs or maybe even the clients that you've worked with to build out packages that add additional value on top of whatever the price may be?
I think those packages, they're really important. And what we are trying to coach and train our clients on is that there's different things that are important to different types of fans. Some of the fans actually just want to know that their kids are going to have 30 minutes before the game to run around, like Leah mentioned, get all their energy out, so they'll sit calm during the game. Some of them want to know that they're going to get that opportunity to meet the players, have a poster signed. Some of them there are for the fire and the smoke and that emotional aspect of it. But then some of the dads are just out there saying, hey, this is a Saturday afternoon thing. If I can get my family to it for $100, we can all enjoy 4 hours of entertainment, and I can come back home and the kids go to bed. That's what matters to them. So what we try to coach everyone on is finding different packages that will work for different types of fans, whether they're rational, whether they're emotional. Find something that's going to fit within what they want, what they desire, and what they're willing to spend their money on, and make sure that you have enough to cover all the different bases there.
Does that come from just sheer testing and even knowledge of the market?
Yeah, and we've got a lot of our staff here have actually worked on campuses and dealt directly with the fans from an athletic department standpoint. We've worked with a few professional teams as well, so it gives you an idea of what works in different areas, the type of fans, and it starts a lot with that demographic information and really getting to know the fans. We do quite a bit of questioning of the internal staff, and we'll do some fan surveys as well to kind of get a gauge on what's important to them, what's going to actually move the needle when it comes to advertising the tickets to them.
Awesome. Now it looks like we have a couple fan questions here. Fan questions, people who are being watching. I'm just thinking about fans. So it looks like for Leah and Sean, how do you all combat/monitor the secondary ticket market prices, where prices may be lower for certain sporting events, i.e. student Facebook reselling groups, SeatGeek? How closely do you monitor these platforms as well when considering your own pricing strategies? I know Leah already answered it in the chat, but Sean, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we don't really have a big impact on the secondary market here in Muncie, Indiana. But what I will say is that in Chicago at Northwestern, the way we approached that was by using that Dutch auction strategy. That in and of itself, the process of going in, bidding on tickets, providing your information, and knowing if you went through that platform, you were guaranteed the best tickets at the best pricing. It also provided you the peace of mind that you weren't going to have fraudulent tickets. So those were the reasons, and one of the reasons we went with that, because it allowed us to capture that own data. But part of that algorithm that we were using was certainly based on monitoring the secondary. So we weren't going to stray too far from what we saw in the secondary. We still wanted to create the best value. But we thought that mechanism, and we communicated through the school, was your better and most secure and guaranteed option to get the best seat at the best price, with the potential of a refund if the price dropped. So all those reasons was directly tied to combating the secondary.
Awesome. Now we got another one, it looks like, from Haley. It says, what are some of your favorite packages you've seen? Let's start with Ben. Ben, at the professional level, or even maybe at the college level, what are some of the favorite packages that you've seen or even been a part of?
One of our most successful packages is Pepsi Family Value Pack. It's a really a good deal for families, and it covers food and beverages that cover 4 tickets. That's one of our best-selling packages product.
Yeah, and Sean, what about you and Kevin? What do you guys have?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned the Pepsi Plan for All piece. for us, and that's a key package that traditional couple of tickets, hot dogs, Pepsi drinks, chips, and a cinch bag for one low price. That seems to be a really key thing for us on game day when folks are coming up to the window saying, hey, how can I best value myself and these 3 guests that I have with me? I would say that's probably been our best, and we've tried to bring that to each of our ticketed sports across the spectrum.
I would agree with what Ben and Sean were saying. Typically, those family packs that offer something besides just tickets, whether it's a T-shirt for the kids, some waters or some sodas or a hot dog or something that adds value, so they're not just getting the tickets. They can hang their hat on the fact that I paid this much for tickets, but I get this, this, and this. In terms of some of the favorite ones I've seen, I really like some of the unique experiences that you can offer, especially in collegiate athletics, that if it's for some non-revenue sports, but where you got to go into the locker room in between the break. It was for a tennis team, again, non-revenue generating, but you got to go and sit in the locker room and listen to the coach talk to the players in between the match. And that type of ticket package for the right fan is something that you can charge quite a bit for, and they will absolutely eat that stuff up.
I think on our end, something that we had some success with in the last couple of years has been flex packs. Our fans like options. They like to know they have a lot of options. And, a lot of our folks were driving in from an hour away, a couple hours away. So we did flex packs where you get 15 tickets or 20 tickets, and then you can either use all 20 for one game, or you can use one per game. So you can get yourself in every single game. So, and essentially it's a season ticket, so we can count them in those numbers if we need to. But it is, or you can use it all at one game and have a large group come. So it's legitimately a flexible package for the fan. It provides them with a lot of options, and they can come to the best game of the year, a Kentucky men's basketball game, or they can come to the midweeks, which are hard for our traveling fans. So it kind of gives some flexibility there.
Awesome.
If I can add one more thing on that, Adam, here with at Ball State, we play in the traditional MACtion games midweek. In fact, we have one tonight.
Got a little Tuesday night MACtion.
Right. Some of us. But to combat that, we have a lot of fans who say, hey, listen, we don't want to buy season tickets because we're not going to make it to those November Thursday night or Tuesday night games. So we created the Cardinal Flex Appeal package. So anybody who buys a season ticket can flex those tickets from any game they want, as long as there's availability, into a different game. So basically you're buying a 6-game flex pack when you buy a season ticket with us.
And I think too, being able to use leverage your football games. I mean, we have, a lot of us will have basketball games on a weekend, a Friday and a Sunday, men's and women's basketball with a Saturday football game. We just opened up, a flash pack for us, which is, our last football game of the season, and then it's sandwiched between 2 basketball games. And they're non-conference. So we know we're not going to sell a ton of tickets, but we're leveraging that especially for our traveling fans. They get to do, women's basketball, football, men's basketball over the weekends, and we're at least moving inventory for those games. And otherwise, we may not have been able to do that, but we're using football to do that.
Awesome. Now, as we get a couple last questions here before we hit the hour, and I think a little bit more fun, what is one thing that you have wanted to always try, but you haven't been able to try it yet in terms of ticketing, in terms of anything that may apply to this conversation? I'll let anyone kind of start with that. Kevin, you have any thoughts?
Oh,
I know I hit you with the heavy duty stuff here at the end.
Well, I think it comes down to some of the more stuff I'm talking about, like what can you offer that's a unique experience that no one else can offer? What is some sort of insight that you can give your fans? And you see, a bunch of different schools or even pro teams doing it, and different groups can get different access to different areas, or just allowing them to come in the day before and watch the team do walkthroughs or different stuff like that. I can't think of anything specific that I've always been like, yes, I want to try that and put that out there. But I think it really comes down to finding the experience that makes you and your facility, your team, your organization unique, and trying to leverage that.
Sean, anything? Yeah. Okay, Leah. Yeah, go.
Yeah. Just I don't know. I was trying to think. I didn't have anything off the bat, but I was thinking about how Priceline and Orbitz and all those it's kind of like pick your price. And so I don't know if anybody that's tried that. I know we have not. And so that might be crazy. Somebody could come in and say, I only want to pay $5, and then where do you put them? But for maybe a basketball game, you put them in the rafters. I don't know. But if they're saying that they, if you pick your price on an airline, you get 18 stops if you say you want to pay $100. So I don't know if that's something that my ticket office might be kicking me right now, or if I bring that up to them. But I think that's something that could be kind of fun is a fan pick your price day or whatever, and they say what they're willing to pay, and they get the view and the seat that's associated with that price that they want to pay.
And Sean, is there anything outlandish that you want to do?
Well, I don't know if it's outlandish. A promotion that doesn't have much to do with pricing, but I've always wanted to work with a banking or financial institution partner to provide an envelope to every fan through the gates with a different dollar denomination. And some of those might be 50 cents, and some of them might be $1, but with a grand prize of some significant amount. So you knew you were going to give away, let's say, $15,000 to one lucky fan, but everybody took home an envelope. And I've always wanted to do that. That would allow a fan to go back to a bank with some data, so they'd have to redeem it there. So both sides are receiving some information, if nothing else, but also giving away a lot of dough on one day. So that's one I keep pitching to financial institutions. I keep getting shot down. So
maybe it's because they don't want to give up money; they just want to take your money, right? Is that how it works?
Exactly. I think so.
I like that idea, though, Sean.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And Ben, anything that you've seen maybe on the professional side of things or just in your travels that you have wanted to implement yourself, or an idea that you think would be cool, you just haven't been able to do yet?
Well, there are many things that I want to do or test, but I haven't been able to because of all the different rules or policies or strategies, or how comfortable or conservative or aggressive you want to be in the market. Interestingly, I've always been a sci-fi fan. If this is possible, I always want to, because of every game, every season is so unique. I always want to do a parallel universe A/B testing, that if a game can be duplicated in two universes, what would happen if you implement different pricing strategies?
I love it. Awesome, man. You guys should just come together and just do it all on your own, right? Just come up with all these different, have a consultancy, a ticket idea consultancy. Well, Morris wants to go to Leah's game for $4 on 11/17. Can we make that happen? I think if it's Morris, you probably should charge him $40. We should add
Morris, you're welcome anytime for free, man. I got you.
Awesome. Well, we've reached the hour mark here. You guys, I really appreciate the conversation. I think it's been really one of the more successful webinars we've done. Tons of great insight shared. And for everyone who joined, I really appreciate you guys jumping in here. A lot of exciting things going on, and hopefully we can continue to do these different types of webinars and bring more people together who can share some best practices and give you a bunch of great ideas that you can take and make some tangible differences. But again, thanks for joining us. I'm going to sign off here. Kevin, Sean, Leah, and Ben, I appreciate you guys giving us the hour of your time. Enjoy the Tuesday night action for you, Sean, or Wednesday night action, excuse me, and Leah, crossover. Enjoy hopefully getting into a routine, and Kevin, keep crushing.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.